When I heard about David's plans to make a new album after a 10-year hiatus, I was thinking what a lot of fans were thinking, that he's never going to make a new album again. And I kind of said, a lot of time has passed. Maybe he's not going to make a new album. And then, of course, the call comes out of the blue, the phone call. It doesn't matter that we haven't seen each other in several years. It's just like we have not seen each other. It's like the gap isn't there. We just go back and we resume the conversation that we ended several years ago. So let's go back in, do a new album. He said he would like to make demos. We found this little studio on the Lower East Side of Manhattan called 6/8 Studio, which I believe was a jazz studio, not ready for rock. Kind of had paper-thin walls and all that, but a lovely old couple who lived probably through Miles Davis's life career, owned the studio. So it was really nice to know them. They welcomed us. They didn't know who David Bowie was, which was even better, because people do say if David Bowie's in their premises, they'll phone the press immediately, and friends. So anyway, we go into 6/8 and we have Sterling Campbell on drums, and myself on bass, and Jerry Leonard on guitar, and we are really cramped up in a small space, and we make the demos for most of the album. Several demos I think David already made at home, very primitive demos, but we had the stuff, we had the material, and we wanted to take Sterling into the studio with us, but he had to go on tour with the B-52s, with whom he played with for years, and they wouldn't go on tour without him. But anyway, he went. We used Zach Alford on drums, who is terrific, and he played really brilliantly on that album. David wanted to keep the making of this album a secret. We had to find a discreet studio, and I had already worked at this place called the Magic Shop, which was in Soho, lower Manhattan. And we went in there and tried it out a bit, and David liked the ambiance of the place. It was a bit shabby, but they had vintage equipment and a nice-sized room where you could put the drums out in the open and put all the other instrument cabinets, the guitar cabinets, in the vocal booths and things like that. David could sing live, and it was just perfect for us. A lot of fans knew about this studio, and they knew where David lived. David was watched a lot. Fans would just camp out near his home. They wouldn't get too close. They knew where the back entrance was from his big apartment building, and they saw him walking around, and they'd follow him, and sometimes it was just to go to an Italian delicatessen and buy some salami, things like that. But then they saw him walking into this studio. The studio was sworn to secrecy. We had to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. But what would happen is, like, some of the band members would go out on the pavement for a smoke, and they'd be standing outside. And some of the fans recognized them as members of his band, and they would all ask them questions. Are you guys making a Bowie album? Is he in there? Everyone would say, no, he's not. We're not making a Bowie album. Well, what are you doing? Oh, it's a secret. We can't tell you, but we're not doing a Bowie album. Then they would nail me coming out. They recognized me, and they said, are you doing a Bowie album in there? I mean, you're his producer. And I go, no, absolutely not. Why? Does it look like we're making a Bowie album? They go, well, Earl Slick was there, and so Jerry Leonard, and no, we're not. So we had to really lie, like, all the time. It was really hard. And finally we moved out of there, and the album was finished. turned out absolutely great. I did love that studio, though. Magic Shop had all this vintage gear, but like a lot of studios, they just couldn't afford to keep open.
20,000 people, crossbows and Booker, fingers are crossed just in case. Walking the dead. Where are we now? Where are we now? The moment you know, you know, you know. As long as there's sun.
The first single we were going to put out for the next day was Where Are We Now, which, is so beautiful, it's so heartfelt, and I remember recording it, having David sing it so beautifully, take one, and I said to him, just give me another one. He goes, why? It was the first time he ever did that on me, and from that point onwards, he only did one take on anything he sang, even on Black Star. But anyway, this was the beginning of One Take David. So we knew it was going to be debuted on a certain specific radio station in the UK, and he said, we were speaking to each other online, and we had that station tuned in, and we couldn't wait. And it was like it was a countdown to like 10 minutes, 9 minutes, and he said, this is going to be amazing, because people gave up on him like they did several times in the past. All of a sudden the DJ gets on, he says, I'm going to play a new single by David Bowie. And he said, okay, Tony, see ya. And we signed off, and the internet lit up. I mean, it was just, people were going absolutely bonkers about this new single by David Bowie. And instead of it being like a rebel type song, it was this beautiful ballad, which just was so beautiful and showed off his voice and made people cry. So we recorded that. Coco Schwab was in the studio with David and myself while he was recording, just the three of us. And both Coco and I were dewy-eyed. We were both when David was singing. And then he comes out, and as I said, don't you want to sing it again? And he goes, no, why? The effect was very clear that he knew what he was doing. So it was really an amazing way to introduce the public to yet a new David Bowie album, again, after people gave up on him.
Valentine sees it all. He's got something to say. It's Valentine's Day. Valentine told me how he feels. If all the world were under his heels, or stumbling through the mall.
People were amazed that he put another album out, and his fans were welcoming it. Some fans were saying, "Oh, it can't be as good as his former stuff," and things like that. Everything was thrown at him, but the reaction was generally great approval and to great joy and ecstasy that David still had it in him. Every now and then, if I didn't understand what he was talking about, he may or may not tell me what the meaning of the lyrics are. Especially if they're you feel that they're a little sidestepping the subject, yet speaking about the subject. But Valentine's Day, I thought, was about Valentine's Day, where people fall in love and send each other cards with red hearts on it. He goes, no, it's about a kid who shot up a school. Came to the school with a gun and killed everyone in this game. I went, oh! And I recorded the song, and I just didn't pay attention to the lyrics. He had to explain it to me.